live. Good morning. Facebook is live. All right. Okay. So yeah, I've got my course. I'll get it. I promise I will get it someday. When I can have a fancy home studio and I don't have to move my equipment ever. maybe then. So we'll just give it another minute or two. I feel like I'm too far away and I can't see anything. So today we're going to work on balance and literally. Just see if I watch for comments for a second here. So literally, like we're going to work about balance. So standing on one foot, right? Maybe standing on 2 feet, but in a strange position. Right? In other places you can balance too. You don't have to just be standing, obviously. So good morning over on YouTube. I can't see who it is, but good morning. So, but also balance in our lives. Right? So I've talked about how stressful this time of year can be, and it could be good stress, right? So that may be where you are, but it can also be like some people love the holidays and everybody's like, oh, Christmas, and it's all busy and crazy, and maybe you're one of those people that just doesn't love Christmas, right? Or maybe you don't celebrate that, or Hanukkah, or oh gosh, sorry, blanking on everything else that happens this time of year. I apologize. So maybe you're just not feeling that, and that's okay, right? So we're going to try and balance the good stuff with the maybe not so great stuff. Right? So a little bit of opening the front of the body and letting that warmth and love and joyfulness in, and then a little bit of folding so that we sort of bring it back in and reground and do what we need for us. Right? So the literal balancing and the balancing within your heart and within your life, right? So even if you are like a go person, there still needs to be that element of recharging, right? So that's kind of where we're going with it. Remember to do what your body tells you to do. It may not be where you want the big openness, right? Or maybe in tree, instead of having your foot high on the inner thigh, you're just happy to have your toes up off the floor. Right? So these are all adjustments that you can make for yourself. Just remember to listen to your body and do what you need to do here. So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and grab a seat on your mat. And make yourself comfortable here, right? So if you need a block, certainly grab a block. Making sure that the pelvis is upright, engaging the belly. So always protecting the lower back of the belly, lifting the pelvic floor, lower belly in and up. We're tall through the sides, extending out through the crown of the head. Go ahead and close your eyes. And feel the balance here, right? So the pelvis grounds into the floor. And the crown of the head reaches away toward the ceiling. So feeling those opposite directions. And notice if you ground too much, maybe the spine compresses. Or if you reach too far away, the pelvis doesn't feel properly rooted. So even this tiny little subtle piece of balancing that we need to do all the time. And then just noticing your breath. And notice here if your inhales are even with your exhales, or maybe not. And as you begin to expand into the breath, see if you can bring that more into balance. So finding that middle. Finding that place where the breath is just a little bit beyond comfortable. Maintaining what we have set here. Let's go ahead and extend the arms out to the sides. And on an inhale, stretch them up toward the ceiling. And exhale and bring them back down. We'll do it again. Let's go one more time like that. Releasing the arms to the mat. So keeping that really tall, grounded spine. Bring the right hand to the left knee and the left hand behind the body. Giving yourself just an easy little twist over to the side here. Maintaining the balance in the pelvis itself. Nice full breaths. And then let's release that back to the middle. Take your second side, same idea, just a gentle, easy twist. And as you assess what's happening in your spine, notice if you feel even through the spine. Sometimes one place will turn a little easier than another. Let's release that back to the middle. We're going to take that first side again. We're going to even out the spine a little bit. So using the arms, sit extra tall here, and rotate around from your belly button. Feel that rotation begin in the lower spine. And then through the middle, turning your side ribs toward the back of the mat. Maybe taking your shoulder back a bit, turning the head even. Feeling the twist more even through the spine. Release that back to the center and take the second side. Same idea. Rotating around as evenly as you can. We're going to release that back to the middle then. And from there, come around onto hands and knees. So take your time, and if you need to adjust at any point, certainly do. Cushion what you need to cushion. Have a block available if that's you. And then in our all fours, make sure the hands are properly grounded. Pushing away from the floor so you have that energy coming away from the mat. Belly's pulled in here. Inhale as you drop the belly toward the floor. And then exhale as you round your spine toward the ceiling. Following your breath in and out. And just like the twist, allow the evenness through the spine. So one area wants to move very easily, one or two, right? One might be really, really tight. See if you can even it out. Find the balance through the spine. So take one more float. And then find a middle. So even here, grounding down, making sure the belly is engaged. Let's go ahead and extend the right leg straight up. And we want to press through the heel. So in your mind, standing on that leg. From there, we're reaching the left arm forward. And feel the engagement of the muscles between. Let's release it, coming back to all fours, and then taking the second side. So left leg back, pressing through the heel so the leg is active, your belly's working. We extend the right arm forward, stretching away from the body. And feeling maybe a little bit of a wobble here. Even if you're not moving, you can feel the shifts, right? Let's release that. We're going to go back to that first side. So extend the right leg and left arm again. Apparently it's time to move off. Keeping the idea of reaching away from the body. Take the arm over to the left. Bring the leg around to the right. Press through your heel here. Stretch through your fingertips. Feeling the muscles engaged. Feeling that little bit of wobble. Release the hand. We're going to take the toes over to the side here and come on up on the knee. So cushion your knee, of course, if you need. Heel in line with the hip. Let's stretch the left arm up and bring it over. Drawing the shoulder back. Make sure your belly's engaged. So here, feel the grounding into the floor and the extension out the crown of the head or the fingertips if the arm is lifted, of course. And we're going to release that. Bringing the hands back to the mat. Lifting the toes. Let's bring the leg back and then down. Working the second side. When you're ready, go ahead and extend the left leg and the right arm. Keep that idea of reaching away from the body. If you're still really wobbly, maybe hang on a second. Take the arms over to the right, bring the leg around to the left. And then bring the fingertips to the floor, the toes to the side here, coming up on the knee. Reach the right arm up and take it over. Nice big even breaths here. With an inhale, come back up to the top and release the arms. Lifting the toes away from the mat, go ahead and take them back and drop down into hands and knees again. So one more time here, extend the right leg back. We're going to bend at the knee this time, working to keep the hips as square as you can. So the belly is in, we're supported there. This time we're going to lean over to the left just enough to lift the right hand up off the floor. So once you found your balance there, see if you can reach back and find your foot. Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe your hip had to open all crazy, right? See if you can square them back up again. And then maybe play with your toes, lifting the foot a little higher. We're going to take one more breath. Gently releasing, stretch long. And then release the hand and the knee. Second side, same idea. Left leg, right arm. No, not right arm. Bending at the knee, lean to the right, lifting the left hand, finding that foot. So work with the balance here, take your time. Still got those even breaths flowing? Releasing, stretch long again here. And then release back to hand and knee. So finding that middle here, go ahead and sit your hips back and make your way into a child's pose. All right. Let the spine release. Nice easy breaths again here. And then from child's pose, let's make our way into a down dog. And allow yourself to just, of course, move and stretch a bit here. And then settling in. So we want to, again, ground down into the hands. Not only press down, but imagine pulling the hands toward each other, making the muscles engage a little bit more evenly, right? So not just relying on bones. Pressing the chest back, getting that nice stretch in the lower back, your hamstrings, of course. Sinking the heels to the floor. Maybe they touch, maybe they don't. Connected to the breath here on an inhale, we're going to slide forward, come into a plank. Make sure the belly is supporting the lower back. And then back into your down dog again. So easy like that, back and forth. If you need your knees on the floor, it can be more of a kneeling plank to a child's pose even. Let's go once more like that. Holding back in the down dog. And then taking a little break down to the knees in child's pose. So we're going to move back into down dog again. Shifting forward into our plank and holding here. Check in that you're a straight line from the crown of the head, either to the knees or to your heels, ankles maybe. Shoulders are neutral on the back. And then we're going to bend the elbows tight to the sides, dropping down to the belly. So hands are next to the side ribs here. We're going to roll into the shoulders. So on an inhale, pull them up by your ears, together on your back, roll them down towards your hip bones, and release it. Connected to the breath. Nice, even in and out. You can use your arms a little bit, but hold on, we'll get there. Take one more flow like that. And then just release. We're going to work into that Cobra again here and add on a little bit, maybe, if that's for you. So inhale and roll the shoulders just like we did. Keeping that, think about the placement of your shoulder blades on your back. Make sure the pelvis is grounded into the mat. We're going to pull, lengthening the spine, keeping the elbows in, maybe lifting a little higher. So the arms are engaged, but we're not just relying on the bones, we're relying on the muscles. Make sure you're breathing. And then gently come on down. So keeping the elbows tucked in toward the body, lifting your chest and belly at the same time, make your way back into a kneeling or full plank. And then gently take a child's pose. From child's pose here, lift back to your down dog. Let's walk the feet forward and come to standing fold. So beginning here, just simply walk in place. Bend into one knee, press into the opposite heel. Switching sides. And then coming to a center, bend both knees enough so that your belly touches your thighs. Take the arms behind the legs, wrap around. And we want to squeeze the belly to the thighs, but not the legs toward each other. So keeping that, see if you can take your legs straighter. Let your head hang. Keep squeezing in. And then let's release the arms. We're going to take the feet a little wider than normal. So maybe just outside of your shoulders. Make sure you can still ground evenly into the four corners of your feet here. So you want to be all off or all on your mat as we get wider. From here, the legs can be a little bent if you feel like they need to be. Otherwise, straight. We're going to take the fingers behind the lower back and interlace. Shoulders draw toward each other. Knuckles stretch away from the shoulders, so that might be straight down your back. You may be able to lift it up off your back a little bit. But keep the shoulders away from the ears and the shoulder blades pulling toward each other. Let's release the arms. We're going to take the feet a step wider. Grounding into the four corners again here. So let's take the hands and walk them over to the right. And if a knee bends more or the hips shift, allow that to happen. Let your upper body kind of hang. And again, if you want a little bend in the knees, that's fine for now. Let's release that, coming back through the center over to your second side. Come on back to the middle. Let's take the feet a step wider. Or half a step, wherever you're comfortable. And if you want to turn sideways on your mat, you're welcome to do that as well. So your feet are on your mat instead of on the floor. Press down into the floor like we've been, really activating the legs. Even here, imagine drawing them toward each other up underneath your body. So we're going to keep the lower body doing that. Bring the hands, walk them over to the right again. And if you feel a little shift or a bend in one knee or the other, find that center again. Press down, pull together. Keeping the foundation firm. And then releasing that back through the middle. Walk over to the left. So the lower body staying very steady and stable in the middle. And then let's come back to the center. Take one step wider. And this time here, turn your toes out to the corners. And you may need to adjust a little more or a little less, kind of see what happens here. So with the breath, go ahead and exhale, bend into the right knee. And then inhale, come back to the middle. And exhale over to the left. So you're going to go side to side like that. When you bend into the knee, check that your knee is in the same direction as your toes and doesn't go forward of your toes. So you may need to open your feet. A little deeper as your body is able. Still connected to those nice even breaths. Let's go once more on each side like that. So get in there as good as it's going to get. And then back to center again. Walking the feet back in up underneath the hip bones. Let's ground into the four corners of the feet and draw the hands to the thighs, lifting the upper body parallel to the floor. Hold here for a second. And if you must lean with your hands, lean. Otherwise, make your hamstrings squeeze. Make sure your lower belly is working. Your spine is neutral. Your hips are over your ankles rather than pitched back. And then we'll bend into the knees and sit into chair. So feeling even in your feet. Tucking the tailbone just a little bit so you can lift the chest. Keeping the knees in line with the toes. Hanging on or coming center or extending. Let's take one more breath here. And on an inhale, stretch to the ceiling. Exhale and release. So let's take a little bit of opening the front of the body again. So hands on either side of the lower back. If you like the support, you can maybe interlace your fingers if that feels more appropriate for your body. We would just want to make sure that the feet are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So press down into the floor. Little tuck of the tailbone. Extending out the crown of the head, right? So just like before, the bottom is low, is grounding, and the crown of the head is reaching away. Pulling the shoulder blades together on the back, opening and lifting the front of the body. Big full breaths here. Keeping the chin tucked in so the back of the neck is long and wide. And then on an inhale, gently make your way back to a neutral position, releasing the arms. Let the hands come to the thighs again, leaning if you need to lean. Belly's in, we're coming back into that half fold. So just nice and easy. Bend back into the knees, so coming into our chair again. Hang on, center, extend. This time, though, instead of feeling grounded on the four corners of the feet, we're going to come up on the toes. So allowing yourself to wobble a little bit, Keeping the tailbone tucked. Let's take one more big breath. And then stay on your toes if you can. Stretch the ceiling, inhale. And then exhale, release it all. Okay. So let's come to stand at the top of the mat. Belly's engaged. We're going to inhale, stretch to the ceiling. And then exhale, take yourself over into fold. Inhaling, come halfway up. As you exhale, step yourself back to your plank. We're just taking the knees, if that's where you're at, down to the belly. Rolling into the shoulders, pulling and pressing with the hands, if that's you. Keeping the elbows in, up and back into down dog. And then inhaling and stepping forward, fold. Halfway up. Back over again. And then reaching to the ceiling. Exhale and release. So again, just like that, modify if you need. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. Halfway up. Back to your plank, exhaling all the way down to the belly on that same exhalation if you can. Inhale as you roll for Cobra. Pressing back to down dog. And then inhaling as you step forward. Halfway up. And back over. All the way up. And release. Adding on with the next one, remember you can modify, you can skip things if that's where you need to be. Prop, of course, if you need to prop in one way or another. On an inhale, let's sit into our chair. And then exhale over into the fold. Halfway up. Stepping back to plank. Take it down. And inhale into Cobra. Release, back to down dog. And on the inhale, step the right foot forward for lunge. Getting the toes to the fingers, inhale as you lift the upper body. And then come on back down again, exhaling into down dog. Slide forward plank. Exhale down. Inhale, Cobra. Back to down dog. Are the inhales and exhales still smooth and even? Left foot forward. Healer knee to the mat as we lift. Taking it back down again into down dog. So one more time then, slide forward plank. Exhale to the belly. Inhale into Cobra. And then back down dog. Hold your down dog or drop on into child pose. And if the breath isn't so even and smooth, see what you can do to make it that way a bit. Taking just a couple more breaths, finding that place. If you're down in child's pose, lift back to down dog. And from down dog, step the feet forward and fold. Inhale as you come halfway up. And exhale back over. Sitting into chair, inhale. And then exhale, release it all. So standing tall at the top of the mat here. Let's go ahead and take a short step back with the right foot. All 10 toes point forward here, so watch that back foot. It likes to turn out a little bit, but that drops the hip back, right? Square the hips up, ground the back heel. And bending into the left knee a little more or less, listening to your body, keeping the upper body upright. And then the hands can stay wherever is comfortable, or maybe reach up toward the ceiling. So keeping what you have here, we're going to change the arms. Take the fingers and we're going to interlace them behind the lower back again. So the shoulders draw toward each other. The chest opens and lifts toward the ceiling. Stay even on your feet and square through your hips here. Come forward, bringing your belly toward your left thigh. Shoulders stay back. Stretching the knuckles away from the shoulders. And then see about taking that left leg straight. One more big breath here. Release the fingertips to the floor. Little push and bend in our left knee so we can come up on the back toes and then lift the right foot away from the mat. We're going for warrior 3 to begin here, so the hips are square, pressing through the right heel. Left leg is straight and strong, belly's pulled in. So if you don't want your hands on the floor, you don't need them, but maybe you're gonna want them here. So the hips are square here. Now see if you can open up your right hip, rotating the toes more toward the side of the mat than the floor. The hands are supporting, or maybe that right hand can come to the hip even. And then we're gonna close it back up again. So we got a little bit of movement going on. Okay. Opening and closing the hip. Take your time. See how stacked you can get, and then how square you can get. Okay. So maybe the movement is very big, and maybe it's barely moving at all. We're gonna go one more time. Opening and closing. And then release both hands and both feet to the floor. Hang here for just a second. Let's bend into the knees and roll up through the spine. And we get to go to the second side. So let's take that short step back with the left foot. Again here, adjust your feet so that they're feeling even on the mat. The pelvis is upright, bending into the right knee as you're ready. And then the hands go where the hands go. Maybe they stay down, maybe they extend. We'll take the fingers behind the lower back. Shoulders draw toward each other, stretching the knuckles away. Keeping the front of the body really open here. We'll hinge forward, bringing the belly toward the thigh. Reaching the knuckles away, keeping that openness through the chest. Gently here, taking the right leg straight. And then releasing the hands. Bend into the knee here. And when you're ready, lift the left toes. So getting yourself stable here, making the left leg straight and strong. Again, the toes are pointing at the floor, at least at first, so the hips stay square. And the hands do what you need them to do. So maybe they stay on the floor, maybe you add that little extra challenge of the left hand to the hip. We're gonna open the left hip and then close it back up again. Take your time. Working with your balance. As open and as closed as they can be. Let's go one more time like that. Releasing the hands, releasing the foot to the floor, letting yourself again just kind of hang. Let's step back to down dog. And drop on down into a child's pose. So from our child's pose here, let's come up onto all fours. So back into that tabletop position. From here, slide your right hand, palm up between your knee and elbow here, hand here, dropping down to the elbow, or reaching all the way out and dropping your shoulder to the floor. So you decide how deep you want to go into the twist. We haven't focused too much on them, so listen to your body. So feeling stable and long. If you do have your shoulder on the floor, you want to be leaning on the shoulder, not on your head, not back towards your heels, right in the middle there. And then you can deepen the twist by pressing into the left hand, pulling with the right arm, rounding into the floor with the right arm. Feeling it? And then playing with the balance here, that's really the goal anyway for today in our pose. You can leave your left hand on the floor, or you can reach it up toward the ceiling. And then if you wanted to get really fancy about it, maybe lift the left toes away from the floor. So again, playing with the balance. If you want to grab for the foot, you can add that little piece in as well. Just listening to what your body needs, feeling the wobble. Everybody wobbles. We'll release what you got here, coming back into that all fours position. And then taking that same idea to the second side. So left hand, palm up, weaves under. Maybe just down to the elbow, maybe down to the elbow first. And then as you're feeling a little bit better about it, drop into the shoulder or not. Finding the length, rounding in, extending long, feeling comfortable on your neck and head, right? You don't want to lean on your head. And then you add in balance as much as you want or as little. Maybe just lifting the right arm. Maybe you play with lifting the leg. Maybe neither of those things. So again here, there's always options for your body that particular day. One more breath. And then releasing here, coming back to all fours. And then back down into your child's pose again. Let's kind of sit up on the heels. Sitting nice and tall, and you can prop up on a block here if that's what you need. Or you can come out of this Shavasana position and just sit on your bottom. We're just going to stretch our shoulders, so this is not ultra important. But you do want to be comfortable and upright with the pelvis wherever you are. So let's take the left arm out. We're going to bring that hand between the shoulder blades. See if you can help the elbow point more toward the ceiling, and maybe it will and maybe it won't. From there, take that right hand behind your lower back and start walking up your spine. And maybe you can find the fingers back there, and maybe you don't. Don't worry about it. Reaching in opposite directions, rounding through the pelvis, extending out the crown of the head. Big, even breaths, right? We're going to release the arms, maybe give them a roll because it feels good. And then switching sides, take the right hand between. The left hand either helps the elbow over if that made sense for you, or starts to walk up the lower back. Fingers maybe come together or maybe not. Let's take one more breath here. And then release. Rolling your shoulders around. Let's bring the legs around front. And then maybe balancing your knees or wiggling so that the legs are awake again. Even if you like that position, sometimes it gets a little stuck there. So just like we did earlier, make sure that the pelvis is grounded. The belly is working. We're going to inhale, stretch the arms up. And then nice and easy, come forward, fold. So remember to just let the hands fall where they fall. Maybe you touch your toes and maybe you don't. But if you round your spine and bend your knees and lose your neck to find your toes, it's not worth it, right? It doesn't mean anything. So take the legs straight, find a neutral spine here. And the hands go where they go. Stretch up the backside. And on an inhale, we're going to come back up again. And release the arms. So you've got one more place to balance. Go ahead and scoot forward on your mat a little bit so when we do roll back, you'll have somewhere to go. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together here, hanging onto the ankles. Release the inner hips, lengthen through your spine here. And then keep that, lean back and balance, lifting the toes away from the floor. And they don't have to lift high at all. So making sure the belly's pulled in and the chest stays lifted. We're going to let go of the ankles. You can hang on to your legs still if you need to, of course. We're going to bring the knees together. Squeeze your legs together like crazy. And then open your knees and squeeze the soles of your feet together. Bring in your knees, squeeze them. And open, squeeze your feet. Do that one more time, closed. And then open. Hang back onto your ankles. And instead of lifting your chest, go ahead and round your spine and roll on back to the floor. So the soles of the feet stay together. We're going to drop them to the floor and just let the lower back and the inner hip release. Let your lower belly go. We'll draw the knees back together. Take a moment and just make sure that the spine feels aligned on the mat. So if you have to shift or wiggle, go ahead and make that adjustment. And then really stay focused on the spine releasing into the floor. So the shoulders are wide. You've got that little lower back lifting away from the floor. And the back of the neck isn't touching the floor. That's the idea here. Keep that and extend your right leg straight up toward the ceiling. So maybe it doesn't point quite at the ceiling. If you need a strap, of course, you can use a strap here. We're going to take the fingers and interlace them behind the lower back, the thigh, goodness. Keeping the shoulders on the floor, keeping the lower back lifted away from the mat as much as possible. So keep that idea. Exhale, pull the right leg in a little closer to your chest. And then inhale, let it go a little bit. So this little in and out, and it can be bigger, of course, but you have to be careful of momentum if you're going too big. And notice you'll come to a point where in order to go any further, something has to give, right? Your shoulders have to lift or your lower back presses into the floor. And you want to work at the edge there, keeping the alignment of the spine. Just a little in and out with the leg. Take a couple more breaths like that. And then we're going to come to a center. Right? So you've got the neutral curves in the spine, the leg is pointing up toward the ceiling as much as you can. Extend the left arm out to the left and glue that side of your body to the floor, especially the hip. Support the outside of your right leg with your hand and let it start to fall right. So now this left knee may need to fall open. You might find your left hip lifts up off the floor. Stay centered. And if your right foot doesn't touch the floor, so what? Keeping it in line with the hip rather than letting it drift down toward the bottom of your mat. Let's take another big breath here. And then we're going to come back up to the top and release the right foot. So if you did get a little crooked, even back out again. And once you're there, you can extend the left leg. Interlacing the fingers behind the thigh, keeping the spine just as it is, in and out. Find where that place just before everything starts to feel all wonky. Taking just a couple more breaths like that. We're going to find that center place, extend the right arm, support the outside of the leg with the left hand, and let it start to fall left. Keeping the rest of the body as is. Take one more breath here. And then bring it back up to the top. Releasing the left leg by the right. Again, making any adjustments. If you got a little crooked, draw the knees into the chest and rock. So then your final twist is always your option, right? Opening the arms into a T position, you have the option of just keeping the knees in closer to the chest and letting them fall to the right. we're going to move to the right first, of course. So if that's where you want to be, that's where you are. Otherwise, you can take your feet to the floor and then let them flop over to the right. You can shift your hips left first and then let the legs fall to the right. You can cross your legs. You can leave them bent. Take the left leg straight or maybe both at some point. Just kind of rest where you are for a second and see if your body needs something else. And even as you're simply holding, you can make it more or less work, right? You can release into the mat and just kind of let gravity take over. Or you can work a little bit more by pressing your left shoulder back, extending through your left knee or your left foot, of course, if the leg is straight. And noticing how releasing or working changes everything. Let's take another big breath here. And then we're coming back to center. Moving to the second side. So whatever variation you did on the first side, ideally that's what you're doing on your second side. Our sides are not always even, but we work towards symmetry even if they can't be. Let's take just another breath here. And then we're going to make our way back up to the middle again. Evening out, and one more time, bringing the knees into the chest. Let yourself rock. Squeezing the knees in, pull the forehead toward the knees, give yourself a hug. And then stretch out into a full body stretch. Release your stretch and find what Shavasana is going to look like today. So maybe the legs are extended, maybe your feet are flat, maybe you want to prop behind your knees, or some people prop under their head. Prefer a seated meditation, or even up against a wall, with your legs up the wall or your spine resting against the wall. Find where your body needs to be right now. And just like we began, observing the breath. Release control, but stay with it. Keeping the mind present, quiet. Slowly draw in a deep cleansing breath, and then let it go. Restoring small movements to the body first. Gradually allow yourself to wiggle and stretch. When you're ready, taking the feet flat to the floor, gently bringing yourself back to seated. Grounding into the mat and extending out the spine. Bring the palms to touch. Bow into the light within. Namaste. Thanks for practicing with me today. I hope you enjoyed that. Remember, there's always other classes that are archived if you're a little bit late and you want to start something fresh, or you're just feeling something a little bit different. Maybe favorite the ones that you really particularly liked, or that maybe you need on a more frequent basis. And enjoy your weekend with whatever you're doing, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.